Hello everyone, I'm Bernard Lemasson from Paris in France. You can guess with my accent. Oui. So I'm leading the work we do at Accenture, which is a company, a private company, consulting company. So I'm leading the work we do in Accenture strategy to support help public service organization who wants to transform themselves. And basically we do it in various countries in the world. So maybe just very brief reaction to this. First, the trends, I think, which are very, very relevant. Chun-Hyung, exactly the things. I really like the way you introduce all these trends. On the shifts, then, in the way government needs to operate or public services makes a lot of sense. I would say, initial reaction, execution does matter. So the way to execute on all this is absolutely critical. At least that's what I see in many places where we do work, because yes, we can agree on the trends, we can agree on what needs to be done, these shifts, but if we do not execute, nothing will happen. And I guess with many agencies, government officials, public service officials, the trick is in the execution. And one thing for that is the trust that you highlighted as well. We made some surveys. I think in average, 8 out of 10 citizens are asking government to change, to transform, better services, whether it is for quality or efficiency, etc. But the same 8 out of 10 do not believe that the public service officials can actually drive this change. Except maybe, I did not check for Singapore. I should have checked before, but I don't remember, so I can tell you later. But for sure, except in Dubai, where, so in the Emirates, people trust their government to support the transformation, but in most other countries in the world, they do not trust the officials, whether it is political elected officials or public service officials, to actually drive this change. So this question of trust is absolutely critical to me, because you cannot drive these changes and the execution if people do not trust. And the second things I would like to highlight is the size of the country does matter a bit as well. What we find a lot is that it's not exactly the same to transform public service agency in Singapore, roughly 5 million citizens, I guess, or in Denmark, again, 5 million citizens, or in Norway, or in India, Brazil, Nigeria, whatever, you name it. Or with countries who do have a lot of legacy, history, behaviors, habits. Continental Europe, you know, you have countries, UK, Germany, France, with a lot of history, kind of mid-sized type of countries. But so the way to execute these changes, I think, will be different from one country to the other, whether we are in Africa or in Europe, etc. And I think we need to have this in mind in the way we address these shifts, because it does bring to different ways of acting. And maybe last topic, we do not touch so much here on the kind of regulation type of topic. And I think, and I will talk a lot more about digital maybe later in the day, because I think we'll agree, digital is not a tool only, it's really kind of a shift in paradigm in the way we operate things. The regulation topic is absolutely critical. We know government, public services have a role in the regulation of activities, of everything. How does regulation inhibits, prevent of transforming things is something we see in many places. And I think we need to find a way to cover that in all of that. Because just as an example, we work in the EU last year for something, and we raised an idea which is the right to challenge. How can public servant, civil servant, be allowed to challenge some regulation, working with citizens, if they truly believe that indeed there is a better way to provide the outcome, the public outcome, compared to the existing regulation. And there are some places, like the free cities in Denmark, where you are allowed indeed to not apply the regulation, with some ways, if you truly believe you can deliver the public service outcome in a better way without this regulation. Of course, it's kind of provocative ideas, but I think there's something around regulation that we need to have in mind, because it's always very challenging things when we go into execution of some of the PS transformation. And maybe based on what we just discussed this morning, some kind of lesson learned as well on why it has been good in some aspect of it, and why we are still a long way to go in some other side of it. So basically, in 2007, so it's already now 7-8 years ago, when the new French President Sarkozy was elected in France, he decided to launch a major state reform program, which was kind of a unique. Maybe the UK actually drove some initiative already in the past with the delivery unit, Sarah, you belong to, and you mentioned. But in France, it has been a bit patchy type of things. And for the first time here, it was the idea to say, driving a holistic reform program to really adjust to the needs of citizens and to the reality, in a very much in a context of efficiency, to be clear, with increased citizen demand on one side and decreasing budget capacity on the other side, as in many European countries. So this major state reform program, a lot being driven from the top. So many lessons learned when we talk now about collaboration, citizen centricity, etc. It was very much a kind of a top-down program, strong political decision-making process with a monthly kind of meeting, yellow, red, green flags being tracked, monitored on KPIs every month, where the minister level, so the political level, would report to the president or to the general secretary of the president's office how they stand compared to this reform and what they've been doing or not. On addressing the full spectrum of civil service activities. And maybe Max, it goes to the fact that in France, as you know, we have a very centralized organization. Coming from Napoleon, actually, from the more than 200 years ago. And so everything is happening in Paris when it goes into public services, organization, etc. So in that sense, it can make sense to have a kind of a centralized approach, but still it was difficult. So I will elaborate on that. And the initial intent was to really re-question the fundamental public services activities with 7 questions, and I have them in front of me because I was not sure I will remember all of them. But so the first one is, what are we doing today as a public service organization? And the second one is, what are the needs of expectation of citizens? So we are kind of starting with where we are, but what are the citizen needs? I'm trying to understand that. And then, should we continue to do as we have always done? So it seems a bit obvious, basic, but that was the thing. And if the answer was, yes, we need to do something, who should do it? Who should pay for it? And how can we do it more at a lower cost? And again, it's very much in the context where the budget pressure was very high. So this balance between quality of service and efficiency is something that we actually focus very much on the efficiency side. So who should do it? Who should pay? How can we do more at a lower cost? And the last question was, which transformation scenario? Basically, how do we do it? How do we implement? And so that was kind of the initial intent. And we worked with some very small group in a targeted time boxing time frame, like 2-3 months time frame, to address each of the main public policies around social benefits, defense, whatever, you name it, education, etc. To understand, to answer those 7 questions for each of the main policy areas. And then going into some implementation mode, and I mentioned at lunch, with a kind of, actually, we took a citizen-centric approach with citizen use case, life events. I have a new baby, I'm going to school, etc. So many life events that we citizens have, and try to understand what should be done, how should we transform, etc. Around those life events. In parallel of that, a school of modernization was created, so built into the administration, and it does still exist, to train civil servant, middle level, management level, in terms of transformation program, executing transformation program. And I would say kind of in a quite traditional way. This is one now I'm a big fan of kind of cultural mindset shift, rather than just training people to do PMO, to do project, etc. It's about how can we shift the mindset of people to really deliver what they have to deliver in different ways, in better ways. So trying to change a bit the culture, the training of the people, and I guess maybe so in the initial years, 1,500 civil servants were trained into some new management, transformation techniques, process excellence type of stuff, etc. And actually, what is kind of interesting is that after the initial phase, which was very engaged, and people got a lot of ideas within the administration. I'm talking about yes, this is not working well, we should change that, etc. Then we face the reality of execution with a lot of pushback in many places, not only actually from within the administration, but as well from the real world, let's say, and starting a lot with the medias actually, because of course it was very much perceived as a cost-cutting exercise. So we were going. Typically, one of the guidelines was 1 person out of 2 who is going on retirement will not be replaced, and that was kind of the guideline. So the workforce actually decreased by roughly 130,000 civil servants over a 5 years time frame, so which is kind of significant, 130,000 civil servants less. But many people view this as the kind of the key outcome of the exercise, and did not fully understand that the intent was to transform the way service was being provided to citizens for all of these life events. So one of the key lessons learned to me in that process is that you need to be paying a lot of attention to stakeholders, not only the internal one. So in France we have unions. You need to work a lot with the trade unions to make them understand what is happening and how they can be on board. And it's not easy when at the same time you want to reduce the headcount. But as well external stakeholders like the media, the citizen, some of the various groups of people outside. And that's why it goes exactly to the topic we discussed this morning, because the collaborative aspect, working with citizens, engaging them up front, I guess was something which was learned during the journey, during the way, and you never do enough of this inclusive approach with citizens, much more in a bottom-up type of things, rather than a kind of a top-down redesign type of approach. So, so the program was eventually successful in terms of cutting some of the cost. We saved like 11 billion of euros on annual recurring basis of public spending, which is compared to a 300 billion euro central budget spend. So it's not like nothing, but at the same time it's like 3-4%, something like that. So it's as well limited. But on the other hand, it kind of prevented a bit some further fundamental public policy shift, because initially we did not explain enough that it was about securing actually the public service for the future, rather than trying just to reduce, discount, or downgrade the quality of public service. And a lot of people understood that it was about less public service, where it was actually about different public service to deliver better outcome. So again, very strong lesson learned on the communication part of it. And then the middle management or top management of the civil servant administration as well is a critical part. If you pick the French administration, there are about 250 top-level general director. So they are the one who really control all the administration in France. And basically, I would say maybe 1/3 of them was really on board with the program. And when you don't have these people on board, it gets very difficult to execute the rest of the program. So over time, we kind of found out about that, and we spend a lot of time to engage with those people. And again, it's because of France. It's a very centralized model. So if you don't have these people on board, you have no one on board, basically. So having your top management on board and potentially actually replacing some of them, if they are not the one who are willing to play the game, is something key to ensure the success of the state transformation. No. Maybe just to conclude, on last piece was on the similar to the UK. The government created a central delivery unit, and I guess maybe we hear from Pemandu as well, because it's a very interesting example in Malaysia. And this central unit was absolutely critical to the success. So bringing together, and in that case, it was a group of up to 200 people under the Prime Minister leadership, formally, coming from the private sector, coming from within the administration, but with some skills to actually support, organize, drive all the transformation activities to facilitate and help all the ministries. And this unit kind of grew up in the first 2 or 3 years of the program and had to create its own legitimacy by the skills of the people they could bring. On finding a way, which shifted a bit from the beginning, where it was very much kind of, again, top-down things. Okay, I will tell you, you agency, you administration, I will tell you what you should do, how you should do it, which was not very efficient because people would, of course, push back and say, oh, come on, I know my agency, I know my work, to a place after 2 or 3 years where it was much more, okay, we have this set of skills, we can offer it to you if you want it, and let's work together to decide if you need this support in terms of whatever type of skills you need. And then it was much better welcomed by the people to be able to support them. Is what they would drive from the inside within each ministry, each administration. So all in all, a lot of lessons learned during the way, and I guess in the end, the thing which is still kind of critical in the case of France, but in many countries, is that the true fundamental question is what are we doing, and should we continue to do it or not? So making choices around the role of government, the role of public services in doing some things and not doing other things has not been fully addressed, and that's absolutely critical. Should we continue to do this type of control on some agencies? Should we continue doing whatever else? It's very difficult to just say, okay, we stop doing that because actually it's useless, because now with digital, whatever, the way to do it is completely different. Or some other organization, private bodies, makes a lot of sense to do that. So this fundamental question about what we should cover as public agencies and what we should not deliver is a very challenging question, which drives a lot of the rest of the activities. And this one has not been fully answered. It's kind of a continuous process, of course, but it's core to some state transformation program. So I guess I stop here and